Okay, so as you can see, you won't see us spinning here on Morning Joe at all. But let me tell you what I believe, and then we'll go to Willie. Biden had a terrible night. He could not land a thought, not even in the closing statement, which is something, that's the easiest part. Write down a few words, go through them, go through the thoughts. And while I validate the chaos and hysteria Democrats might be feeling, anybody who cares about democracy might be feeling, anybody who cares about women's rights and our safety and our lives might be feeling, totally understand that. And at the same time, as the night was over and I was hearing you on the phone and all our phones were exploding, I just had this gut feeling that I'm not ready to give up on Joe Biden, not even close. Joe Biden has lost more in his life than he has won in every way, especially politically. This man has lost and lost. And the only time that he wins is when it matters. And that is, we have proof of that. He has lost in personal ways. He has lost and hit rock bottom in every way possible. And every time he comes back fighting. So for me, watching what happened last night, again, it was terrible. It was terrible. There's no way to spin it. I still wonder what he's going to look like in a week. I wonder if he was sick. He came out on the stage and I thought something was wrong. I still believe he's the best choice for this country, even with that performance last night. So many times Joe Biden has hit rock bottom. Last night was one of them. And I'm just not going to jump to conclusions here and jump on the hysteria train. I am rocked a little bit by it, didn't like it, was really worried. But I really, truly believe in him as a president and as a human being.
Hey, real quick before we get started, if you haven't already, could you just look down, go and subscribe real fast. If you watch a little bit, you decide you don't want to see me again, go back and unsubscribe. But I really appreciate it. Thanks.
That was Democratic Congressman Jerry Connolly of Virginia expressing some frustration over the lack of communication from the White House following last week's debate. Joining us now, senior advisor and senior spokesperson for the Biden-Harris 2024 re-election campaign, Adrian Elrod. So, Adrian, we've been talking a lot about it this morning. A lot of people are really concerned about President Biden and whether or not he should stay in the race. We just heard from Tim Ryan, and Tim Ryan bluntly put it out there. He worries Joe Biden cannot deliver. He says Americans needed to see a candidate punching back at Trump's lies, repeated lies over the course of 90 minutes. And over the course of 90 minutes, he repeatedly struck out even on basic issues like abortion and some of the basic arguments of our time. To that, you say what? To the calls from people like Tim Ryan to shake up the race, what do you say?
Well, a couple of things, Mika. First of all, good morning. Secondly, look, President Biden has made it very clear. How many times does he have to say it, that he did not have his best night? He said it at a fundraiser last night in McLean, Virginia, that he was tired. You've noted on the show, Mika, many times that, he traveled twice around the world. He was exhausted. He did not have his best night. However, I don't know if Congressman Ryan saw this, but President Biden gave a rousing speech in North Carolina the next morning where he did make that contrast, where he did talk about the fundamentals of this race, what is at stake for the American people. He talked about the 50 lies that Donald Trump told on that debate stage. He talked about the fact that Donald Trump lied about women's reproductive rights. He lied about January 6th. He lied about the economy. He lied about a number of things. He is also...
I think she's talking about the my last video I made on that, touched on that a little bit. The day after the horrific debate that Joe Biden had, he went out with a scripted speech in front of a bunch of people in North Carolina, and that was just to, well, maybe people won't remember the debate if I come out here and look strong here, but. Again, having a speech with a teleprompter and a speech that you've practiced several times is not the same as an open debate. And people should see that, but I don't put a lot of faith into many voters to be able to actually see that. But we'll see how that works out. I think that's all we're going to see mostly of Joe Biden up until Election Day. They said they'll have another debate in September, but I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
said, Mika, and President Biden reminds us of this all the time, that Donald Trump has said, in his own words, that he would lead as a dictator on day one in this country. That is incredibly dangerous. We saw, of course, the Supreme Court's
that's a
incredibly toxic ruling that they made earlier this week on presidential immunity. You heard President Biden being presidential.
They always do this, take the out of context clips and phrases and exaggerate the meaning or the context of it.
Speaking from the White House about what's at stake and how dangerous the Supreme Court ruling is. We have a Supreme Court that is constantly ruling 6-3, largely against the American people. Why? Because Donald Trump put 3 Supreme Court justices on the court. The next president of the United States, Mika, could also put potentially 2 more Supreme Court justices on. So you're going to see President Biden out there making that contrast. He's meeting with governors today. He's traveling to Wisconsin and Pennsylvania this weekend. He's doing a number of things. He's being the president of the United States. He's doing his job. He's going to continue to reassure the American people that he's up for the job. He's speaking to George Stephanopoulos, doing an interview on Friday that will air this Sunday. He is out there.
Is an interview with George Stephanopoulos going to smooth things over? I mean, really, is that going to wax it over for you? Make it feel like, oh yeah, I have faith in this guy again. I mean, you know that's going to be scripted. They're going to have run through the questions beforehand. Joe Biden is going to have the questions beforehand. It's all theater. Everything has been theater for Joe Biden since the election in 2020 or the campaign in 2020. It's all been theater.
Doing what he needs to do to reassure the American people. But Mika, he's also.
Not only is it theater, but they hide him. And I don't understand how anybody can't see that. They hide him from the public, from the difficult things, from the public seeing him perform the task where we would really get to see Joe Biden or see his state of mind at this point. Now, most of us understand that that's because, yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. I'm going to be honest. The debate, he actually did better than I expected him to. I was a little surprised that he did that well, but for anybody who is shocked by that, you should really consider the media that you're consuming and the news, the places where you receive your news and your information, because they've been lying to you. Many of us knew that Joe Biden was in that shape already.
Going out and talking to voters directly, and voters in this election will ultimately decide. We have seen from our internal polling that there has not been much of a shift. We have seen in 8 public polls that this race remains within the margin of error and that this debate did not shift really at all in these polls. So I think it's important for everyone to take a step back, take a beat, realize President Biden is the only person in this country who has defeated Donald Trump, and he will also defeat him again in November.
So there are those who are, even you heard Jerry Connolly there saying they haven't heard from President Biden and they want to be reassured. Your words sound reassuring. With due respect, I think people want to hear those words from President Biden himself, especially top Democrats who are sort of waiting to see what happened and to hear from him personally.
Yeah, look, I think he's making calls. It's been reported that he's making calls to congressional members. I can certainly confirm that. He also spoke to Leader Jeffries yesterday, and I think, you're going to continue to see him out there speaking to members, reassuring members. But, Mika, he's also the president of the United States. He cannot call all 535 members of Congress. So he's talking to leadership. He's talking to some members. He's doing what he can. He's talking to governors today. But, again, you're going to see him out on the campaign trail. You're going to see him at the White House. You're going to see him sit down with George Stephanopoulos.
You're going to see him sit down with George Stephanopoulos. You're going to see him at the White House. You're going to see him out on the campaign trail. No, he won't. He will go to venues where they will be able to take a few clips where he looks good, or maybe have a few speeches in front of teleprompters. You're not going to see Joe Biden. You're going to see the scripted theater of Joe Biden, the character that Joe Biden plays. But none of us are going to see Joe Biden again until the next debate, if there is a debate. I think it's supposed to be September. That's the next time that we'll see Joe Biden. Up until then, there will be the scripted character that Joe Biden plays on TV.
You're going to see him in key battleground states. He is making the rounds. He is traveling. He's doing what he needs to do to not only to reassure Americans, but also remind folks what is at stake in this election, how dangerous Donald Trump is to this country. And I got to say, Mika, first of all, where is Donald Trump? Haven't seen him much on the campaign trail in the last few days. Secondly, I'm just kind of, I don't want to say I'm tired of talking about this, but I think we got to get back to the fact that Donald Trump is a threat to the American people.
See how they shifted Donald Trump? You're going to see this everything. They're not going to want to talk about really Joe Biden. They're going to always want to shift to Donald Trump, which they've done the whole time. But we're going to see that go into overdrive. It's going to kick into high gear. They're going to go into they're going to constantly deflect to Donald Trump and spout out the out of context phrases that he said or the incidents that they can use, like the what was the one that Joe Biden used the other day? All very fine people, the Charlottesville thing. I lost my page there. The Charlottesville thing. Remember, he didn't know that even Snopes had debunked that because he was off into his practice for the debate and locked up for a week in isolation. So he didn't see that even Snopes had done that, and he was sitting arguing it on stage. And I thought that was the funniest moment of the entire debate. But anyways, yeah, you're going to see her now go into digging at Donald Trump.
People. We are dealing with a court system that is increasingly siding against the American people, that is increasingly making it far more dangerous if Donald Trump steps back in that White House. And there is one person, Mika, who is standing in the way of Donald Trump getting back in that White House, and that person is President Joe Biden.
Adrian, good morning. It's good to see you. So obviously the president, his inner circle, hears these calls.
Anyways, that's all I wanted to play of her. I have another couple of clips, videos, another video I want to make today with a couple of clips showing kind of where CNN is now after the debate and after things have calmed down. But that's it for her. Like I said, we can expect the negative redirection to Donald Trump really pick up over the next few months, all the way up until the debate. They're going to deflect everything from Joe Biden. Any questions of Joe Biden, any serious engagement with Joe Biden is going to be absent, and they're going to push it to Donald Trump. They're going to try that. I don't think it's going to work because people have seen on the debate that these are during the debate that these are two different people. Donald Trump is clear-headed and clear of mind. Donald Trump is who Donald Trump always has been. You may not like his personality. You may think he's kind of grating and brash, but not a wonderfully inviting person. But Donald Trump's who he's always been, and Joe Biden is. I mean, Joe Biden's gone. Like I said, we've seen that since the 2020 campaign, probably back into 2019. Many of us saw him slipping. We saw the signs and the symptoms and the way that they were hiding him away, and we said, "Yeah, this guy isn't going to make it 4 years." Most of us didn't think he would make it to this point, but somehow he did. They did it by being able to hide him away and let someone else run the country, and look at the flames the entire world is in because of that. So, anyways, that's all I've got for now. Check me out. I'm going to try to release another video today, and make sure you subscribe and leave a like. If you leave a comment here, talk to me. Let me know if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me. Let me know. Let's have a conversation about it. Later.